The city trembled with rumors. Footsteps of fear echoed through the streets. Doors were locked. Voices whispered. Judgment was coming. And she stood alone. Everything she had built was fragile. Her reputation, her safety, her future. If the city fell, she would fall first. Fear pressed on her chest like a heavy stone. There was nowhere to run, no one to defend her, no promise of rescue. Loss has a way of making the world feel small. Breath feels shorter, hope feels foolish, and in that moment, she had nothing left to hold on to. She whispered prayers she wasn't sure God would hear. Words spoken into the dark. Words shaped by desperation, not confidence. Days passed. Nights followed. Nothing changed. The walls still stood. The danger still grew. And heaven stayed quiet. She waited and waited and waited. Silence can be cruel. Doubt crept in slowly. Maybe God only listened to the righteous. Maybe mercy had conditions she could never meet. Every sound outside her window made her heart race. Every sunrise felt like borrowed time. She believed God was real, but she wondered if he was willing. One night, the weight became too much. Tears came without warning. Her strength broke. Her questions spilled out. Why would you notice someone like me? Why would you save a woman with a past like mine? Why stay silent when I am afraid? Her voice shook. Her faith felt thin. This was not a polished prayer. It was raw, messy, honest. And that honesty became the doorway. Two shadows appeared when she least expected them. Not angels, not soldiers, just strangers. Only later would she know their names. Only later would she understand the place she stood. This was Jericho, and her name was Rahab. The men were spies from Israel, sent by Joshua, just as Moses had commanded before his death. Joshua 2, verse 1. Danger followed them closely. If they were caught, they would die, and so would she. Everything in her screamed, "Don't get involved," but something deeper whispered, "This is the moment." She hid them, not because it was safe, but because faith finally spoke louder than fear. She said words that surprised even her. "I know the Lord has given you this land. We have heard what he did." Our hearts melted. Joshua 2, 9 through 11. Faith was born not in comfort, but in waiting. Still, nothing happened. The city tightened its grip. The king searched. The walls remained strong. Rahab tied a scarlet cord in her window, a fragile sign of a fragile promise. Days passed. The waiting returned. The silence returned. The fear returned. Had she risked everything for nothing? Then the ground began to shake, not from an earthquake, from obedience. Israel marched once, twice, 6 times. No attack, no sound, just silence, waiting again. On the 7th day, a shout rose into the sky, and suddenly the walls fell. Stone collapsed, dust filled the air. A city crumbled in seconds. Joshua chapter 6, verse 20. Everything was destroyed. Everything except one house, one window, one scarlet cord. Rahab stood alive in the ruins of judgment. God had not been silent. He had been precise. She was brought out, saved, protected. But redemption did not stop at survival. Rahab was no longer the outcast. She was grafted into God's people. Joshua 6:25. Time passed. Her shame no longer defined her. Her past no longer owned her name. She married. She belonged.
And generations later, her name appeared where no one expected it, in the lineage of kings, in the bloodline of David, in the family tree of Jesus himself. Matthew 1:5. The woman who waited in silence became part of salvation's story.
What looked like delay was design. What felt like silence was mercy moving quietly. God was not ignoring her prayers. He was positioning her purpose. If you are waiting, if heaven feels quiet, if your past feels louder than your faith, remember Rahab. God redeems the overlooked. God hears the broken. God writes beauty into ruined places. And sometimes silence is not absence, it is preparation. Maybe the wall hasn't fallen yet, but the scarlet cord is already tied. Hold on, God is still working.